Som Niels Elias Koch sagde indledningsvis, så har vi 2,5 timer med et hårdt pakket program. Det er sådan et godt mættet dyk, hvor vi skal prøve at finde ud af som samfund, hvordan vi kan sikre en fri og uhindret adgang til troværdig viden. Så lad os springe ud i det. Og den første taler sidder på Bahamas. So welcome very much, Shelly Palmer. I hope you're with us. For 25 years ago, we used to search the web and get a list of links. Then the search result got personalized. So no two users came up and saw the same links. And now we don't even get links anymore. Now we get full answers generated on the spot. So search engines have, in your words, become answering machines, a shift driven by artificial intelligence. So you have promised to help us to unpack this transformation that we've been looking at and that we're looking at right now. So welcome, Shelly Palmer. You're a professor of advanced media at Syracuse University. You're a tech consultant, you're an author, you're a commentator in several medias, and you make a terrific newsletter every day almost these days. The word is yours. Please give Shelly a big hand.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the introduction. So yeah, the age of search engines is giving way to the age of answer engines. And I think it's important to understand how that's happening and why, and then have a pretty good look at the future. So the first part of this has to start with this concept of agency or agents, or the words agentic systems. You're going to hear that a lot now in the context of AI, generative AI, in fact, all things AI. Now, it's important to understand that AI is no longer a goal of the West Coast of the United States. The hyperscalers and the foundational model builders are trying to work towards AGI, artificial general intelligence, which doesn't have a generally accepted definition. OpenAI says it's when AI is capable of doing economically useful work. But on the road to artificial general intelligence, which you can consider capable systems that are able to accomplish goals, the terms you're going to hear, also not well defined, are agents, agentic systems, and of course, they're all just a fancy word for the idea of agency. Now, on the day that Manus, one of the first fully capable agentic systems, was released out of China, Apple delayed Siri's agentic tools, and they said maybe the end of 2026. Apple Intelligence today just announced they may be charging you $10 a month for the part of Apple Intelligence that they have available. But at the moment, agentic Siri has been delayed. But I want to talk a little bit about what agentic Siri may be or could be, and how it's likely to change search and search engine optimization and search engine marketing in the future. So agents do things. They accomplish very specific tasks, and that's all it is. It's just an autonomous tool that goes out and searches the web. It goes to a database and looks something up. It may go to a site through its API, its applications programming interface, and go get the weather report for today. Something very specific that's easily checkable. That's what an agent does. An agentic system is a system that orchestrates or puts together a bunch of agents to accomplish a goal. So instead of accomplishing a specific task, you're asking the system to go accomplish a total goal. For example, go book my trip, write my report, help me do, you fill in the blank. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a goal that the system is accomplishing rather than a single task, you can call it an agentic system. Now, what's really important to understand is that there are about a dozen elite data sets in the world. Google has one. We've all been logged into Google for the past 20 years. They know how we type. They know what we've searched, every search we've ever done. If you have Gmail, they know pretty much everything you've ever emailed to anybody. They have all of the maps from Waze. They have an immense amount of data that's proprietary to them. Meta has all of the Facebook data and WhatsApp data and Instagram data. That's an elite data set that explains how we present ourselves in everyday life. Tencent, Baidu, also gigantic elite data sets. Amazon has an elite data set in the United States, everything Americans shop for. They pretty much know what we're shopping for and searching for. And so there are Elon Musk with Grok AI has, or XAI has an incredible data set. He owns every tweet ever, and he can use them to train Grok, his model, and his XAI foundational models. So there are a bunch of elite data sets in the world, and they are very specific. Now, none of those data sets are super powerful until they get my personally identifiable information, PII, and my personal health information, PHI. And one of the places that lives is right here in my iPhone. I have Apple Pay, which has all of my payment information. It knows every location I've ever been in while holding the phone. It knows if I'm wearing an Apple Watch, how often my heart beats, how often I breathe. It knows pretty much everything. This is one of the most important data sets in the world if I'm going to build an agentic system. Because not only does it know everything that the foundational model builder knows, it's going to know everything there is to know about me. So the idea of an agentic Siri becomes quite powerful, or Gemini, an agentic Gemini in an Android phone becomes incredibly powerful because two things. One, in the flagship phones, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is an incredibly expensive phone. It's about $1,500 with Apple Care. And the Samsung Galaxy S25, which just came out, is also roughly $1,000, $1,500. So people who own these devices self-select as the richest people in the world, or the people who will spend the most money on phones. They're incredibly good clients or prospective clients. So now imagine that I've got a foundational model that's capable of agentic actions. And now I've got the data that's private to me that I won't give to anybody else. What would an agentic Siri be capable of? Well, I don't know, 50, 70 speaking engagements a year, and I'm constantly on airplanes. So when I book a speaking engagement, that usually happens through email, and my assistant will copy me. Can you imagine Siri then putting it in the calendar and then going out and looking for the airline that I'm going to take? Now, I have very specific rules when I fly for business. I only sit in certain aisles. I only sit on the aisle seat. I only buy refundable tickets because my schedule is such that the clients constantly change. And so I need these criteria to be met. Siri knows this and could easily go out, book the plane, book the hotel, and then just send me a note saying, hey, I've got the plane, I've got the hotel. Now, what this means in practice, no search engine was involved, at least none that I touched. The bots are never going to click on an ad. The bots are never going to pay attention to the copy. They're simply going to tap in with their specific goal, which is either value or price. In fact, I may not just have one avatar or one agent of my own in my phone. An agentic Siri might understand that when I'm taking my grandkids on a trip, that I'm looking for coach seats and they should be really cheap. And the schedule matters because their school schedules are locked. I have a completely different set of criteria, but I wouldn't have to tell this to Siri. It would know from my behaviors. And so everything we understand about shopping and everything we understand about search engines, where we are responsible for searching and we are responsible for literally breaking down our goals into small tasks, is going to be automated by these agentic tools. And whether they happen in the phone or whether they happen in your laptop or whether they happen in the cloud really won't matter. We're now kind of transitioning from this idea of search engine optimization to something that doesn't exist at all, which would be LLM optimization. Now, this morning, the Washington Post, which is a large newspaper in the United States, announced a deal with OpenAI, where OpenAI will now be able to freely search with all of their tools the Washington Post's not only archive, but current information. This is really powerful, but it's also really problematic because what it's telling us is that the big publishers understand that positioning inside of a large language model's capability set is the future. So distribution becomes less important. Now, the question you have to ask is, does this end the dual model subscription as well as advertising? Because the bots will never click on an ad, and the bots may not even attribute properly the information because, as all of you know, large language models do not store information the way your regular computer does. They break information up into small bits of information called tokens, and those tokens are literally not representative of the data from which they were taken. They are a completely different way to store data, and it is a completely different way to retrieve data. So I think the long and short of this, and the most important takeaway, is that we are clearly on the road to marketing to bots. Now we know that, and there's nothing we can much do about it, but we shouldn't be that concerned because we've been marketing to bots for years. Everyone here who has ever worked in search engine optimization has tried to make their site look incredibly attractive to the Google search bot. And as long as you understand that this is a new form of SEO where we're going to be looking at agentic systems and we're going to have to optimize for them, we understand what the road ahead looks like. So the key takeaways are really simple. Marketing to bots is unquestionably the future. We're just waiting for the time when it becomes ubiquitous, which doesn't mean you have to wait. It means you have to start thinking about it right now. Agentic systems are here and they are coming fast. There was an announcement a few weeks ago that OpenAI and Google and Meta, in fact, all of the hyperscalers and all of the large language model foundational builders had agreed to include a thing called Model Context Protocol, MCPs, in their capability sets, which now literally just empowered the entire developer community to go out and start making as many agents as they possibly could. So we're in a world of agents, which will put us in a world of answer engines, and it's incumbent upon us to make the transition. Google's trying with their AI overviews and AI mode. They don't necessarily get it right yet, but they will get it right. My money's on Google. They've got a lot of PhDs, and they have over $260 billion a year of revenue riding on getting the right answer. So my money's on Google. And with that, I think I've run a little bit out of time, but I'm happy to take questions if you have them.
Please give Shelly a big hand. So if you should just wrap up and focus on the access to trustable information and trustable knowledge, what does this mean for the citizen and for democracy? These changes that you're describing.
They're critical in that we're going to see information filtered, clearly filtered. And to trust an agent is another layer where people can inflict what they want to inflict on us. So from a democratic perspective, from a government perspective, from a citizen perspective, you have to be incredibly cautious now. And I've written an article that you may want to look at called Default to Distrust. We always default to trust because it's evolutionarily stable. We all trust until we're taught not to by the situation. When it comes to online, I believe we're all going to have to default to distrust almost everything we read and certainly almost everything we see. This is very tiring, requires a lot of energy, and we're not used to it. Human beings just don't generally default to distrust. But that is the future, and I don't really think there's another way around it.
Well, thank you very much, Shelly. Not a very positive note to leave us on, but
No,
thank you.
no, sorry about that.
Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Take care.